Pujit sir, our guest of honor, Dr. Rajesh P. Banwal, and our coordinator, Sri Abhishek Pal. We are thankful to the administration of this college and the management of this college for letting us apply in this ATAL offline FDP, the 6 days offline FDP organized by Dr. B. Polytechnic. May I request our Honorable Principal Sir to kindly address the audience. Sir, please.
So, welcome everyone. So, it's basically the FDP, ATAL FDP, where the title itself seems to be matching with the nature outside. So, have a cloudy morning there. So, basically, we are proud to get this opportunity to get the ATAL FDP. So, and almost 45 to 50 participants have registered there, and we are also grateful to have with us our chief guest, Dr. Rajesh P. Banwal, who is a senior scientist from the CMERI. So there will be a 6-day session, and along with that one CMERI visit also. So hopefully within the due time you will enjoy all the sessions as well as the lunch also, and finally at the end of the session you will be having some quizzes along with that. Be present in respective all the sessions to enjoy it. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now let me introduce our guest of honor to the hall. Our guest of honor for today is Dr. Rajesh P. Banwal, who is currently a senior principal scientist and working as head of AI and IoT under information technology at CSIS CMERI. Sir has done his M.Tech and PhD from IIT Kharagpur. Sir has led several consultancy projects and research and development projects funded by the Government of India. Sir has also been his research interest in AI, cloud computing, IoT, and security of cyber physical systems. Now, with this short introduction, let me request our principal to kindly felicitate Dr. Banwal with a bouquet of flowers. There is also a small token of appreciation for Sir. May I kindly request Sharda Madam to kindly give the token of appreciation and felicitate Dr. Banwal. Now may I request Dr. Banwal to kindly say a few words about the initiative of AICTE in arranging this type of ATAL FDPs, which are enlightening various professionals from industry as well as students who are basically master degree students as well as faculty members. Dr. Banwal, may I kindly ask you?
Yeah, good morning everyone. I think all are from Durgapur or the nearby area, right? So, just you people are, as because you people are creator of this future of this country, right? You are just training the people who are going in the industry or maybe coming in the kind of research institution for the work or kind of academic institution for the work. At least you people should be understanding what's the demand of the day, right? Nowadays, I don't know about the Polytechnic college, but in the engineering college, what I felt is that people are not, or the students are not willing to go to the classes. Can you tell me why? Why the attendance are getting so poor or getting decreased day by day? All are comfortable in English, or should I speak in Bengali also? Okay, fine. So can you people, because all of you are teachers, right? Can you tell me one reason why students are not willing to come to the class? And this is a common problem across all institutions, irrespective of And I have seen in the IITs also, students are not willing to come to the class. Any guess?
So they find everything in the chat GPT there.
True. So ChatGPT is a bit newer version, but before that also it was the same problem was there. Even I visited BCI Engineering College sometimes, and the faculties were complaining that students are not willing to come to the class. They want that, okay, they will be sitting in the examination and they should be getting at least pass marks. So one in ChatGPT, sure. What else?
So materials are available in many places, YouTube.
Very right, very right. So they don't want to just come in the class just to listen you that what is available, what is written in the book, what is available in the kind of internet like NPTEL, MIT course, OpenCourseware are there. There's many materials are now, education is totally democratized. They need not to come to the college just to learn that or just to get them again as a fit to them. So what they want is that some kind of challenge. And see, if you will be closely observing even at your home, you will be seeing the children are more busy in the games. Why? Because mentally that is challenging him. Okay, you cross this level, then you cross this level. So there is some kind of sense of accomplishment is there in those guys, right? And that kind of sense of accomplishment at each level, that kind of challenge has to be thrown at each level to those students, that if they can solve this kind of issue, then only they will be knowing, they will be, that's why people, if you are going in the new education policy, they are talking about the experiential learning, not about the only PPT or that kind of teaching, right? So teacher has a bigger responsibility over here. Obviously that's a challenge. How will you be making it more challenging? Because there is no single way to make it more challenging or give a challenge to the students who are coming in the class. But you need to think about it. Otherwise this kind of, I am telling you, education system is going to die. You might be seeing that all those IITs nowadays is floating courses, online BS degree, right? They need not to, they are assuming that they need not to come to the class just to learn anything. They can take the online courses, get the lectures like NPTEL and all, give the exam, finish. Then what will happen to the teachers who are just sitting in all those colleges? 30,000, 40,000 people are getting enrolled in those BS degrees. So somewhere they should be coming to the class just to have those challenging environment. And after resolving that type of challenges, they should be given some kind of reward, not only in terms of some physical thing, maybe in terms of grading or some kind of level upgradation, or if within the class there should be a kind of healthy competition. Right? So I think we teachers have that responsibility how to evolve slowly with the ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT is a bigger challenge. Whatever assignment, whatever questions you are giving to them in the offline mode, they will be going within 5 minutes, they will be solving everything and submitting in the next day. Right? What will happen? Whether they have learned anything? No. So those process, those activities has to be done within the class, where they are actually in front of you in your physical observations. So just think, it is my urge that try to think, try
you, sir, for the valuable suggestions. Definitely, the teachers will try to incorporate whatever you have told. Now, may I request our coordinator to make some few important points regarding this 6-day ATAL FDP. The participants needs to follow some protocols in order to get certificate or in order to learn from this. So, may I kindly request the person without whose mentorship this ATAL FDP would not have been possible, Abhishek Pal sir, to kindly say and highlight the important points. Sir, please.
Very good morning to everybody. As we all gathered over here to participate in this 6 days ATAL FDP sponsored by AICTE. Now, before telling about this program, I would just like to add some points. Like, this is not the first time. In the last year, we are also able to get few sponsorship from AICTE. One is through the IIC Impact Lecture Series. They have sponsored. And also in the 2024, we have gathered or we have able to get one more sponsorship from the AICTE, that is for organizing Vani program. Now, during this period, we are also able to get this ATAL FDP on cloud. The theme of the program is on cloud technology. Now, in this 6 days program, every day we are having hands-on session at the end of the session 2, and after session 1 there will be one article discussion. So everybody will have to participate in these 2 parts, and there are resource person from industry, academia, as well as some person who are very much experienced to teach us all. Though it's a faculty development program, so most of the cases it has been observed that people are learned, but still there are some other things, cutting edge technologies which will be discussed in this event. And at the 5th day we are having one industrial visit. So to get the certificate, attendance is very much important, and attending the inaugural session as well as the industrial visit. And finally at the end we are having one examination and a valedictory session. And in that final day we are also reflection journal discussion. So at today we will form a group of 6 from the participant who will work as a team, and they will have to work something in a team like article discussion as well as reflection journal. Thank you very much. Hopefully we will enjoy that session.
I think it is clear to most of us how we are expected to work as a team. Now, after a short pause, we will be starting with the session 1, which will be given by our guest of honor, Dr. Rajesh P. Barnwal. So in the meantime, we will be preparing the stage, and may I kindly request all the guests in the dais to kindly take their seats in the front. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
the curriculum. So just for that, we are just in this particular talk, we are going to see that what kind of security is required and how this security is different than the existing cyber security which is there. Already they are known to many of us, right? How much time we are, I'm having?
Sir, 1.5.
1.5.
During that time, we will just give a break of 5 to 10 minutes.
That's great. Okay. So, cloud security, basically here I have divided into 3 parts: security, integrity, and vulnerabilities. Before, just I am starting, before this talk, coming to the topic, I am just giving a small introduction about our organization from where I come from. So this is the organization which has been established. This is called CSIR, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, which has been established before independence of the country even. So 1942, and we have presence over across the country. So 37 national laboratories, research laboratories are there, and 7 research stations are there, units. And our actually headquarters is Anushandhan Bhavan, just beside Parliament. And I am coming from one of its lab, which is situated in Durgapur. That is called Central Mechanical Engineering Research Institute. And incidentally, I think the organizer has selected, I think another microphone is also on. Is someone off it? So basically what this maybe you will be getting the opportunity to visit that particular place. So this is the Central Mechanical Engineering Research Institute from where I belong to. So one of the research lab of CSIR. Right? Organizational scenario is like this. So our head of the where is the speaker? Our organizational scenario is like this. So Prime Minister of India used to be the president of CSIR. So he used to be the head of the organization, and then the Minister of Science and Technology used to be our vice president, and then the Director General used to be nominated, who used to be the secretary to Government of India. Right. So this is the basically organizational introduction. Another thing is that we are also having a kind of academic wing that is called ACSR, Academy of Scientific and Industrial Research, which actually provides PhD, means research-oriented degree, MTech and PhDs across the country. That has been set up by Special Act of Parliament, and this year it has an IRF ranking of 11. It is very new setup. 2011 it has been set up, and after that it will work. So with this brief introduction, I am just going to the real topic. So cloud security normally is being considered in different kind of layer. So first is vulnerability, security, and data integrity. Can you tell me what's the difference between vulnerability, security, and data integrity? Data integrity, you forget about that. Vulnerability. Let it be interactive. I think it will be more fruitful. Right? But is the vulnerability a security problem? So what's the vulnerability? First we have to understand that. Vulnerability is nothing, but suppose you yourself has developed one software, and you have developed a kind of its code, but by mistake you have left something, such a code that it will not check the security thing, or it won't check the authorization, authentication, this thing, and letting the outsider get into the system. Right? So this is a by mistake. I am telling you again, this is by mistake. It is not intentional. And that vulnerability, if it is known to anyone, what they can do is that whatever action they can do is that is called exploit. So there is a very, very fine hairline difference between this terminology, though we are using it very loosely. What is vulnerability, what is security, evolution of this cloud kind of journey. What happens? Earlier when the cloud system got started, what happened? People started talking about the bare metal. What was bare metal? Normally in those industries and kind of organizations, people used to have the servers, right, for just hosting their application, software, and all those database, everything. Now it happens, so you need to understand that cloud is more kind of a business model. Rather than technology was available. Some of the technology has to be augmented, but it used to be a kind of business model. So what was that business model? That if you are having those servers in your campus, don't try to have those servers in your campus. What you do is that offload it to me. So some cloud service provider is there who will maintain the machines or the servers in their campus, and you need to just pay for the services what you are basically availing over there, right? So first service came as a bare metal, means I won't maintain the machine myself. What I do is that you buy the machine, you purchase the machine, you install it, you maintain it. Just give me the access to that particular machine. I'll do whatever I want. Right. So that was the first generation of the cloud. Then second generation of the cloud came like VM. I did not have a full size of machine. Even if it is a server of 8 core or 16 core or 256 core, I need not to have that big machine. Give me a small virtual machine. Create a small VM of 2 core, maybe 16 GB RAM, like that. Give me 100 GB of hard disk and give me an access to that. I'll do my work over there. So then second generation, it came like a VM generation. That is called virtual machine generations. In the third generation, again people started. Why all this? Again, as I am telling you, this is a business model. Why this is getting evolved? Just to reduce the cost. Total cost of ownership should be reduced to the end customer, right? So then comes containers. I even don't require VMs. Give me a container access. Deploy the container, give me that access, I'll do my work. So that was the third generation. And now people are talking about function as a service. I need not to do even access to your machine. Whatever the services you are having, like sending email, automated email to someone, give me one access to that particular function. I will use that particular function in my software, do or get the service done from your function as a service, and then I'll pay for that. Maybe if I am using your function 10 times, I will pay for 10 number of times. If I am actually taking the service of cloud service provider. I may not take care of the security. That cloud service provider has to take care of those security, right? Then flexibility. Suppose I need only 2 processors today. Tomorrow I will be requiring 4 processors. My compute requirement has been increased, or my kind of memory requirement has been increased, or bandwidth requirement has been increased. So that kind of flexibility is there. Earlier what was there? Every time we had to acquire new hardware, acquire new kind of services. Then kind of mobility. Okay, today my office is here, tomorrow I am shifting my office to somewhere else. That kind of mobility is possible. Earlier it was not. Inside that, what is happening inside it? Increased collaboration. Now people are talking about the collaborative environment. So if it is there on the cloud, we can collaborate with the different offices or different colleagues. Quality control, obviously, because these cloud service provider has to comply with the standards. There are many standards which are defined, and unknowingly or knowingly we are actually missing that. So unless until you are having that compliance, you might be basically coming across with such news that this particular Twitter has been penalized due to compliance issue. So those compliances are must when we are operating in a public network, right? So that is quality control is there, disaster recovery is there if something is going wrong. So they are having some kind of DR site and all. Then loss prevention. And obviously the software updates. As because why software updates is required? Again, it is going to the same thing, vulnerability. Because when suppose Windows Server has just launched this new version, that time some vulnerability was present that time in the Windows Server. What will happen? That will be exploited by some hackers, some kind of attackers. So what they are doing is that time to time they are releasing the patches, and that patches actually is patching the vulnerabilities so that it will be more secure, right? So those software updates are required, and if you are posing a totally different kind of challenge, which was not earlier in the classical cybersecurity system. Then out of control infrastructure, as I told you, somebody else is actually controlling the infrastructure. You are not controlling the infrastructure. So your security is very, very subjective. That depends upon the skill of that particular manpower who is controlling that infrastructure. It is out of your control. Third party handling of data. Your data is hosted somewhere else. So you don't have any access on that. Losing control over physical security, losing control over hired part of services. So it also depends upon the cloud service provider. Now the problem is, ultimately, if these many security concern is there, how to select the service provider, right? So that again actually boils down to select the good service provider, and that is why only few, there are hundreds and thousands of service providers there, but only few are actually flourishing in the market because of that particular assurance that they are able to give. Right? So if you try to see this survey, which has been recently published by IDC for the cloud, you will be seeing that security concern is the highest concern among the cloud service provider, the cloud service users. Right? Now, how to mitigate? But before that, vulnerability, basically, let me show you some of the cases where this vulnerability are there and where we can find out. Means we as a kind of computer engineer can find out if that particular software, because that software is not Second is that, like for personal satisfaction, sometimes hackers are not having any intention. It is just their part of the game. Just for their personal satisfaction, okay, I broke the security of Microsoft. It may be not the right forum, but I am telling you, just go on Google. One of our research lab in Bangalore, that is called National Aerospace Laboratory, recently last year got hacked. And for that 7 days, the whole system was down. In that lab, you cannot enter with your pen drive even, not even with the smartphone. Okay, so sometimes, and it was all news. If you try to search on the Google, you will be finding National Aerospace Laboratories network has been hacked by some kind of ransomware. They were asking in the bitcoins, give me that money, that much money, then I'll just let you decrypt your data. What will happen? Suppose a particular research institution is having data of maybe 50 years. That will get encrypted by some hacker. What would be the cost of that data? So finally, we could overcome on that. But that became another challenge that defamed the organizational capability. Right? It's not organization because it's a government of India organization. So it's the government of India who are getting defamed over it. So sometimes actually that kind of havoc is being created only due to personal satisfaction of those hackers. Then third is both of these reasons may be true sometimes, right? Due to some gaining some financial transaction, maybe in Bitcoin or somewhere they are asking for the money, or somewhere it is also for the personal satisfaction reason. You can understand the kind of this vulnerability and exploit game with an example, like similarity with your home burglar. Suppose a thief is coming to your home, what they are going to see first, whether there is a kind of loophole in your security in your home, right? Maybe there is a kind of Microsoft has declared end of life. Windows 10 end of life. Why? What is end of life? You can easily use it. But why they have declared end of life? So due to this particular life cycle. Right? What's the life cycle? That suppose you have developed this particular software and some vulnerability has been discovered. Now that vulnerability has been disclosed by someone. It's not the company every time it is getting disclosed by the company itself or getting known by company itself. Sometimes it is getting disclosed by the hackers or so-called ethical hackers. Ethical hackers are those hackers who are actually hackers but having the good intention. What kind of good intention is that? To make that particular application or the software or the cloud more strong. Right? So those ethical hackers sometimes is working for those companies. They are independent freelancers. What they are doing is that they are trying to find out the vulnerability on those application softwares. Right? And then they are actually disclosing it. There are different medium of disclosing. I'll show you how to disclose. Even you can find out, and you can, sometimes company are also throwing the challenge. Discover the vulnerabilities and you get paid also. Means if you'll be finding if any vulnerability is there in this, and if you are reporting to the company, you will also be getting rewarded by the company. Because you are helping from, by some means, right? To the company itself to create their reputation. So the vulnerability has been discovered and it is getting disclosed. Now it's the onus on this particular creator of that particular software or the OEM of that particular software to fix that vulnerability. Now once the fixing is being done, that patch is getting released, deployed, and then your next subversion is ready for deployment or upgraded version is there with you. Now this life cycle is a kind of continuous life cycle till the life of that particular application software, like cloud software. Understood? So if this life cycle is getting an end, that particular application software is called as end of life. Means now no more work will be done by the Microsoft to patch anything on that particular software. You won't get any support call or any kind of patch on that particular software after that particular date, which has been announced by that particular software provider. Understood? So that's why it is going to be an end of life. It's not that end of life means you can't use it. End of life means they can't support it. So this vulnerability cycle is very, very crucial for any life cycle of any cloud software. So you also have to see, suppose in your college even you have deployed a particular Linux server and that might have been deployed say, 10 years before. Now it is end of life. Now what will happen if it will be hacked? Or if the vulnerability, obviously vulnerability will be known to many and many people in this due course, and hackers are basically always trying to see that those kind of opportunities. That's why there the cloud is helping us, that is always getting patched, that is always getting upgraded, that is always getting kind of fixed, whatever is getting exploited. Now here is the one of the example of vulnerability, that is like OpenStack. I think whoever is aware of the cloud thing, they might have heard about it. OpenStack is a kind of open source cloud platform. So OpenStack plugin has a code error, and due to this, what happened? Some kind of SQL injection attack can be launched. What is SQL injection attack? Have you experienced it? You can also experiment in your SQL injection attack vulnerabilities, it will get executed in that database, and it may basically disclose all the data which is there inside that particular database, and it will show it. Understood? How do you think of that particular problem? You never designed that software for that. But because you have never checked this particular vulnerability, whether that particular cloud software is having that vulnerability like SQL injection attack, it could be exploited by the hackers or the attackers in this particular format. And it's very, very popular attack which is being done regularly. Now, vulnerability, a cloud admin has a weak password that lacks complexity and doesn't meet NIST password standard. Now, when we are being caught as or being told that okay, you must be using 8-digit password, there must be one capital letter, one small letter, and then there should be a special character, there should be a kind of numbers. It is not like that. Everything is being calculated with a full of mathematics behind it. Right? Because as per the current computation capacity or computational capability available, for how many days will be taken, even if it is a kind of continuous attack will be happening to crack or to disclose your password. That's why they are always, the banks are always insisting that okay, at least after this first time you should be changing your password, because that is calculated. That the most powerful computer on this particular earth, if they are utilizing it, how much time that will take if this kind of combination is available to crack that particular password. That's why they are always insisting that okay, at least after this particular time you should be changing it. So that is, there is a international standard called NIST, NIST. If you search again, they are defining what should be the standard for the password. So now you are very sure and you are capable of taking security of your application, but you don't have any control over the cloud application service provider and the engineer who are working on those clouds or who are configuring on those clouds, right? Now just tell me, if they will be having a weak admin password, do you have any means to know what he has said for the admin thing? If admin password is weak, everything is open. So from whoever cloud service provider you are taking the service, it is immaterial. Okay? Then exploit is there, like a hacker uses a cracker tool to crack the password and now controls the cloud. So there are a number of cracker tools are available. They will just run in an infinite loop, crack the password, give you the password, exact password, done, finish. Right? So, in conclusion, here in the kind of vulnerability part, what we can say is that exploit refers the activity by the hackers which is actually exploiting the vulnerability here, and actually that is creating the threat. Now if I try to see here what happens, suppose this is a kind of transaction is being made between the cloud, and cloud is there on some kind of host, and there are two hosts communicating or collaborating with each other. So this is a common example. Some man in the middle attack is there and they are just trying to get the keys and all. And what they can do is that if they are finding some kind of vulnerability within this particular communication, they can get into it. So here, this is a vulnerability and this is whatever he is doing, it is called exploit. So system vulnerabilities are another of the more common, as I told you. Now lack of input validation or user input. Why I am telling this? This is the more common vulnerabilities in the cloud system, is that SQL injection attack. Because when I am entering, suppose I have been asked application software is vulnerable about it, what will happen? They can do anything, they can get access to anything, they can change your admin password, and once the admin password is getting changed, because SQL they can execute on your table and get their particular password changed, and once it has been changed, you won't be having any access to your own data set, as well as they can have the control over whole application software, right? Then insufficient logging and monitoring. What it is being called in the software system, in the software engineering, it is being called as the audit trail. What is audit trail? Who is accessing what at what time from where? Right? Why we are requiring it? It's for the more kind of forensic purpose. Once something has been done, how to disclose how it has been done, from where it has been done, due to what it has been done, means what kind of vulnerability was there, due to what it has been done. Then, improper error handling. If error handling is not good in your code, that is another problem, not closing your database connections. So every time when you are doing some kind of transactions with your database, some kind of closure, database connection closure has to be there. Otherwise, once the database has been opened by executing some command and you are not properly closing it, somebody from the side may do some kind of transaction with that database. So these are the kind of common vulnerabilities which are actually to be taken care when you are writing any kind of cloud application software, or if you are using or basically utilizing any cloud service providers thing. Now, question comes, if vulnerability is there, how to know that? So there are multiple centralized, or you can say the kind of community websites are there. They are actually hosting this vulnerability database, and you can find any kind of vulnerability, any kind of application service providers vulnerabilities which has been disclosed or which has been basically what you can say discovered till now, and that can be discovered by anyone, maybe we as a customer, or the cloud service provider himself, or maybe some kind of hackers or ethical hackers, whoever it is. What they are doing is that they are submitting their disclosures over here. So you just, I'll request you, all of you, just try to see this particular website on your mobile phone, CVE. 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 And this is a global database. It's not Indian or it's not a kind of VA. And this particular website contains all those vulnerabilities, and every day, every minute, someone is submitting the disclosed vulnerability or discovered vulnerabilities over here. So you can get to know that, okay, which particular application or the service provider's vulnerability has been disclosed till now. Why that is getting disclosed? And those service provider is continuously, so here you see the how many records, 1,57,148 records. Till I was saying that screenshot has been taken, but I'm sure that has been increased by now. So this is continuously getting updated, and all those vulnerability for each and every software. Suppose you have to see that, okay, I am using Microsoft Windows Server. This version, what are the vulnerabilities they discovered till now? You just search on that and you will be seeing the whole list of vulnerabilities which has been discovered by someone. Now, if you are using those patches, you can cover it. But that has been discovered at some point of time. Another is that this kind of details if you will try to see, and suppose if I am as a kind of researcher, if I have to do the research that how to patch that particular vulnerability, because see, these vulnerabilities are very new, and if I try to see here, these vulnerabilities, whatever in the database is available, these are very new, and you need to consider that these are not done by some kind of amateur coder or amateur software programmer, right? That might have been done at the Microsoft or kind of Google, that kind of giants software companies. Now, if that vulnerability is there, obviously there must be a requirement of some kind of research to patch it out. Why this vulnerability is there, and if this kind of vulnerability is there, how to avoid in future for any other kind of software, right? So here you can get to know more kind of data and more kind of exploits which are possible due to these particular vulnerabilities. Now, what are the sources? According to a report by Symantec, Symantec is a kind of security company, and in 2018 they have published one particular report that nearly 70 million records were stolen or leaked in 2018 due to misconfigured cloud storage buckets. What is bucket here? Bucket is being called as, in normal language or in normal terminology, we are calling it as a database. That is, in the cloud terminology, they are calling it as a bucket. Okay, it's a data bucket. So in the data bucket, just due to this misconfiguration of the cloud, what that resulted into leakage of 70 million records. No vulnerability was there. It was just configuration. And that is the unique challenge in the cloud security that has to be taken care. Can we make a kind of automated tool for the configuration? If we can't, obviously human being, whenever they will be configuring, it's very, very difficult to check, having checkpoint in each and every place, that whether some misconfiguration has been done in the cloud or not. Then report also highlighted the emergence of various tools like CloudFront. CloudFront is a tool which actually allows attackers to detect misconfigured cloud storage. Now you tell me, if attacker himself is having a cloud storage, means this kind of discovery tool, what is left out? So for detecting misconfigured thing, now CloudFront kind of tool is there. Can the service provider itself can utilize this a priori or kind of suo moto that, okay, is there any kind of misconfiguration is there, to avoid that. So it's not always the security or tool or research or kind of engineering problem. Sometimes it is human error also. And it's not only hampering that kind of human error in the security or human basically gap in the security is not only hampering that particular cloud service provider, but who are using that services of those cloud service providers. Right. Then cloud storage misconfiguration, again, as I told you. Then cloud storage is a resource of stolen data for cyber criminals. How many of you have heard about this dark web? Dark web you all have heard about, right? You might have heard about, though officially I should not tell, there is a Linux called Kali Linux. Attackers uses those kind of tools. Okay, and in the dark web, I think if something is vulnerable or your even password is vulnerable, that might be present in somewhere in the kind of dark web. So your password must be there in the dark web somewhere if it is your password is web. Right. So how that is getting created? You might be basically looking in the news that lot of password or kind of like from the Twitter platform or some other Instagram platform that has been hacked. How it has been hacked? Because again the same thing, the service provider is being exploited and that is being basically misutilized. examples from the kind of commercial service provider like AWS, who are giants in the kind of cloud service provider system or the ecosystem. Now, if we'll see, when we are talking about the serverless computing and this particular function as a service, what kind of interface they are giving to us or to the different customers. These things are called APIs. What they are doing is that they are creating some kind of interface to their application, right? And they are insufficient authorization is also there, then also there is a kind of security problem. Because in security, in the cyber security, we used to call it as a need to know basis. If a person who is getting access to that particular part of the secure software, whether they are having any need to know that particular part of the data. If it is not, they should not be authorized for that. If it is, then authorization should be exclusively given for that particular part. Okay? So, here need to know basis kind of policy has been taken here. So, authorization and authentication has been differentiated over here or not. So, these are some methods how to avoid or how to disclose the issues or the vulnerabilities inside there. Like penetration to test is there. So, there are a lot of penetration service provider is there. They are doing the penetration testing. What they are doing is that basically they are trying to hack your infrastructure, your cloud, your software application. They will be auditing it. They will be utilizing number of tools. Try to break your software application or the security framework which is there in the kind of your cloud, and then they will be giving you an audit report. Okay, now it has been checked from all the angles. Now it is fine. It's not cheaper. The penetration testing itself is a very costly affair. That depends on many parameters, right? So that kind of tool is there. Then software development life cycle, whether it's a kind of secure is there or not. Like as I told you in the Microsoft Windows case, and using SSL and TLS encryption of data in transit. What's the data in transit? When we are talking about the cloud, we are not talking about anything in our campus. It is always there outside our campus, right? So whether when we are communicating, is it vulnerable for man-in-the-middle attack? That kind of security threat was there in the earlier also, in the before cloud scenario also. But that time we were not dependent on the data or our kind of private data, which were not going to the outside our campus. But now everything is going outside our campus, right? So we have to think of more about this SSL and TLS layer. Then multi-factor authentication and all came into picture. Then what are the kind of concern again? What can happen if something is getting broken? Loss of intellectual property. What's the loss of we as a kind of researcher or academician may not be bothering too much about these intellectual properties, but consider a kind of company like Microsoft, right? If their code is getting stolen, what will happen? They will lose billions of dollars, right? Not only in terms of only software code, but in terms of reputation also, right? Maybe their share market will go down. So those are the concern, because everything I'm telling you outside this academic world, everything is linked with the money. Okay, and everything happens. All those technology development is happening with a single motivation, whether it will add value in terms of some kind of monetary term. If it is there, people will go for it. If it is not there, whatever is there, nobody is going to bother. Right? Then contractual breaches is there.